Hello all, it's Wayne, back with another build video. Sorry for the background noise, but I have to film this in my office where I run a little server farm. As many of you know, I'm a huge fan of Adam Savage and his website tested.com. Over the holidays, Adam participated in a secret Santa exchange in which he took a stock Nerf rifle and turned it into something like a movie quality prop. The rifle he chose was the Nerf Longshot. This is a discontinued model, and to get one on eBay will cost you $400. This was never going to fly with my wife. So, instead of the Longshot, I chose to use the same Nerf rifle my son has, a Nerf Modulus ECS-10 with the Longshot rifle accessory set. Okay, so this is what we started with. This is my son's Nerf Modulus ECS-10 with the Longshot accessories kit added on. Immediately what I realized was that there were some deficiencies in the actual design. For one, this stock piece is really flimsy. Another problem is the bipod wobbles a lot and the barrel extension wobbles a lot. As you can see, I have a hard time even making it stand up with these problems with it. So the way I solved these problems was to 3D print some replacement pieces for the rifle. For instance, this is the new butt piece I printed. It's got a hole through it so that I can get some wires through it back to the back. You'll see why that's relevant later. Then I also 3D printed a clip that snaps into here that stabilizes the barrel, and I also 3D printed a clip that goes in here to stabilize the bipod, and now you can see the rifle is a lot more stable. More in a minute. You didn't get any of that, did you? So, here's where we landed. After thinking about it for a little while and thinking about the aesthetic I wanted to go for, I decided I wanted to go for a weapon that looked kind of like a weapon out of my favorite first-person shooter game called Gears of War. In particular, the Lancer rifle. So I used flat black paint and a substance called Rub and Buff to give it some aging, and then I added some electronics to it to give it the light up features that the Lancer has in the game. So you can now turn the rifle on and it will choose a color, and you can change that color based on the team you're going to play for. So we have red, green, yellow, purple, and my favorite, blue. In addition, you can see that I have the new pieces in. This is the new buttstock piece, which makes that a lot more solid. And I also have the barrel and bipod pieces in. In order to get the see-through 3D or see-through windows that you see where the LEDs shine through, I found a really cool PLA plastic from a company called 3D Solutech that's clear for the most part. I then used my Dremel where I needed to cut out the windows to show through the light on the butt and the middle of the rifle. Thankfully, to Nerf's quality, I didn't have to cut out anything here. However, I did print some of these pieces out of 3D clear plastic that you can see that create the windows that go inside the rifle, like that. Pretty cool. Okay, so obviously to get all the electronics, etc. into the mix, I had to actually take the rifle apart That involved a ton of screws. So I created myself some bins out of Altoid containers to contain the various pieces for each part of the rifle. I called this the barrel section. And I'll probably time-lapse this so it doesn't look so bad. Oops. Come on. While Adam Savage built his in a day, this whole project actually took me roughly, I don't know, 3 weeks due to circuit design problems, not having the right parts I needed, etc. So now we'll go on to the external bin. By the way, I'm using an iFixit toolkit to do this. I cannot recommend it enough. It's a fantastic toolkit for taking apart stuff and putting it back together, hopefully. Point out that the last time I took it apart and put it together, I forgot one of the trim pieces, which I will put back in when I put this back together. I'm not going to take apart the butt. I think you'll get the general gist when I take apart the barrel. The trim piece that I forgot to put back in goes right here. It's a little piece that goes in here like that. So we'll put that back in when we put this back together. Nothing too complicated about this. All the screws on the external stuff are the same size, so you don't really have to organize them by how you take them out. That's made it nice and easy. Unfortunately, one of the bad parts about the iFixit toolkit is that the screwdriver can't reach too deep. So unfortunately, you have to grab another screwdriver to grab these two screws here. And not being magnetic, it doesn't want to pull the screw out, which is unfortunate. So that screw and that screw have to be pulled out by a different screwdriver. See if we can get them out of here. And of course it's not going to cooperate. There we go. And number 2. Nope. Come on. Take apart the battery section here. When you take off the battery casing, one of the first things you'll notice is that I have replaced the 4 AA batteries that used to power the rifle with 2 9-volts. One of these is primarily to drive the LEDs, and the other one drives the gun and the Arduino that's inside. Okay, so this is the last screw. And now we should be able to pull the rifle apart, starting with the barrel section. We'll look there. And separate that just a bit. And we should be able to separate the two sides of the rifle. Oh, wait, I forgot something. This has to come off. Put those in the midsection. I know this is kind of the boring part of it, but bear with me and we'll get to where we want to be. That cap has to come off so that the rifle can come apart. So, what we have here is the inside of the ECS-10. The trigger mechanism is pretty straightforward. I took a bunch of really detailed pictures of all the mechanisms as I took it apart, so that if I got stuck, I could put it back together. You can see now, here is the Arduino Pro Mini that powers the LEDs and the way they can change. I cut out a circuit board as a junction and soldered everything into there. I used a bandsaw to cut it's basically just a breadboard PCB that you can get from Radio Shack or anywhere. I used a bandsaw to cut out what I needed to make all the junctions between all of the lights and stuff. I routed the wires using the same routing Nerf used. Goes under this and then under the motor and into the main cavity here. Fortunately, I had tons of space to work with here. There are two switches. This is the one that turns on the rifle, and this is the one that switches the colors. You just press it down for a little bit and it switches the colors. I used a 1000 ohm resistor to debounce the button, because in electronics sometimes buttons, especially with the Arduino, read too fast, so you have to kind of slow it down. So use a resistor to debounce it. Other than that, these are just WS8112 LEDs with 3 lines. So you have a power line, a ground line, and a signal line. And it's the signal line that determines the color based on the programming of the Arduino of what color the LEDs will come. So I routed into the barrel section here. I routed through some I drilled some holes here and here to get back into the main part of the rifle. And the only other thing I think I need to show really is that it is still, in fact, well, maybe. Oh, the door's not shut. That door has to be shut for the rifle to function. It is still fully functional. It will shoot darts. And of course, I have to demonstrate that the rifle still works, so I'll demonstrate on my son.